story is called Why the Baby Says Goo Goo. Everybody try that. Put your arms like this, like a baby, and say, goo, goo. Hey, that's pretty good. One more time. Ready? Goo, goo. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a great chief, a chief of the Penobscot people. The Penobscot people lived in New England, a place that we call New York now. Now, these people were a very strong people hundreds of years ago, and there was a great chief among them. Now, this chief, not only was he a great chief, but he knew that he was a great chief. And he would walk around his town and actually tell people that he was a great chief. Yes, me, I am a great chief. In fact, I might be the greatest chief of all. There is no chief who's as great as me. Me, I'm the greatest of the chiefs. Did you hear me? Yes, I am great. Well, as it turns out, in that same village, there was a little old woman. And you know how little old women can sometimes be, right? Yes, she came up and she said, "You, great chief, ha! You're not so great. I know a chief who's greater than you." "What are you talking about, old woman? There is no chief as great as me. I am the greatest of the chiefs. I told you that already. You forgot? Don't forget. I am the greatest of the chiefs." "I know you, Mr. Great Chief. You come to my house tomorrow morning when the sun rises up, and I will show you the greatest of the chiefs. Be there or lose, Mr. Great Chief." "Old woman, you are making me mad. I promise I will be at your house tomorrow when the sunrise is up. I'll be there." With that, the chief went back to his own house. And that night, he went to sleep very, very early so he would gain strength and beauty at night. Did you know that you gain strength and beauty at night?
No.
You do. Everyone does. In the morning, he woke up. He put his hawk and his eagle feathers into his hair, as was his tradition. He put his porcupine quills around his neck that were so beautiful in the sunlight. He put a medicine bundle around his neck with sweet-smelling herbs. He knew that if it was a fight of strength, he would win. And if it was a fight of beauty, he would also win. He walked out of his house. He walked across the village until he came to the house of the old woman. "Old woman, I am here. The sun is rising up. Where is this great chief?"
I'm right here.
"Old woman, I'm talking to you." "Come in. Won't you come in my house, Mr. Great Chief?" "You." He stepped in the house. "Old woman, where is this great chief? Has he or she not arrived yet?"
I've arrived.
"There was no one here, old woman. There is only you, an old woman, and a baby."
What the heck? Why am I the baby?
"A baby? You said there was going to be a great chief here, but there's only a baby. And an old woman. There is no great chief." But his voice was so loud that the baby started to cry. Everybody cry with me. The chief was startled. He went over and he tried to comfort the baby. "The baby, goochie goo, goochie, goochie, goochie." He took out his eagle and his hawk feathers out of his hair and he tickled under the baby's nose. Goochie goo, goochie, 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 goochie. Finally, the baby stopped crying, and the chief started to scold the old woman. Old woman, you brought me here, and there is no great chief. But his voice was so loud again, the baby started to cry. Everybody. Oh, and you know how babies can cry, right?
Yeah.
How many of you guys used to be a baby? And did you cry really loud when you were a baby? Did you think somebody was going to come and take care of you?
No, my dad said that I was actually really quiet. I just let him eat and play.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you either.
The baby started to cry again, so the chief took off his porcupine quills. He danced them in front of the baby's eyes. Goochie, 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 goo. Goochie, 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 goo. Finally, the baby stopped crying again. Old woman, I'm very upset with you. But the baby crying again. Everybody. Ah! Ah! Loud, come on, you guys. Ah! Ah! Oh my gosh, the chief is very upset. He picks up the baby. He holds the baby. He takes off his medicine bundle. It smells very good in front of the baby's nose. Goochie, 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 goo. Goochie, 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 goo. Well, finally, the baby stopped crying. And at that moment, when the baby stopped crying, the old woman looked up and she said, there, do you see, Mr. Great Chief? You had to stop what you were doing to take care of the needs of the baby. Oh, you are right, old woman. I had to stop what I was doing to take care of the needs of the baby. You are right. And at that moment, the baby raised up its hands like this, and the baby said, goo, goo. Everybody try it. Goo, goo. And that was the baby's victory cry. And now babies all over the world say, goo, goo. Because in any hut, in any home, the baby is the greatest chief. And that's the end of my story.